Okay, when we're doing the assignment on Excel, the first thing we want to be able to do is set up our X values. So into A1, I'm going to put X, because this is my X axis, and we just want a set of numbers that we can use for our X axis. So I'm just going to go -10 to 10. So it's going to give me an X axis, it's going to go from -10 to 10. So if I do that, the simplest way to do that is just put in two numbers, highlight them both, and then grab the little plus like that and drag it down such that when I get to the end here, I now have my bits -10 to 10. So show that again. I've just typed in -10 and -9, highlight those two, go to the little black cross like that, left mouse click, drag it down until such time I've got there to be 10. Then I'm now going to do my y-axis. And so up here I'm going to put y equals, because I'm going to do what each of the y ones. So the first graph it asks to draw is y equals x cubed. Now on Excel, we can't do the little over button, so that's why we use this little up arrow. Okay, so that little up arrow actually means that the next number becomes a cube, like the little indice. So here, to put a formula in Excel, you type in equals, and then we need to write our X value. So we click on that cell, because that's our X value cell, and then we need to just go cubed, and so that's now that one there cubed. So my formula in here is A2 cubed, because that's my X value. I now just want to drag that down to all my values that are there. So now I've got -10 to 10, and each one of these you'll notice is, so that's A4, which is this button here, cubed, and so they're all my associated bits. To draw my graph, I highlight those two columns, go Insert, Scatter Plot, and I'm going to make it this one here, Scatter Plot with smooth lines and markers, because I'm more worried about my line that I'm drawing. I want to put my markers in there just to see where those dots are, so I'm going to choose that one. It does like that. I'm just going to change this. I much prefer my graph as a new sheet. That's just a personal preference. It means I've got a bigger chart to play with. I can muck around with it. And so that's my first graph. And you can see there that it's got the cubic shape that we're expecting. Then we can go back to sheet 1. My second graph that it says to draw is equals. So I put in equals 2 times x. Oh, sorry. Y equals 2x cubed. So up there I put my little label saying y equals 2x cubed, and so here I'm going to put in equals 2 times x, which is that one, cubed. So that's now that value there. Again, I highlight it down to where I want to highlight it to. So they're now my values for my second graph that I want to draw. To insert that, we can go to our chart, right click on our chart and say select data. And with our data we can add a new set of data. So we go series name, we're working on sheet 1. So our series name is a little title at the top there, and we do that. Then we want to select our range of our X values, and so that's going to be the -10 to 10. And then our Y values is going to be the corresponding Y values there, and we click on that, so they become our Y values. And you can see there the red line now is my new graph that I've drawn there. So there's my x cubed graph, there's my 2x cubed graph, and it's doing what we're expecting, which is becoming narrower, because that's what we expect when we have a number greater than 1 for A. Yeah, our graph becomes narrower. And the other graph that it asks us to draw, and you can draw, to make your point, you can draw a whole heap of different graphs. The other graph it asks us to draw is a half x cubed. So we can draw that graph, so it equals 0.5 times by the x value cubed. So we draw that, and we copy that formula down. So again, I go to my charts, and I go File, Select Data. So I add, I select my range. So my series is going to be that. So the series name, now I select my X values, so they're going to be those ones. And I'll select my Y values, which are going to be those ones. And go OK. And there is my half. So the green one there is my half. You can, because we've got a lot of superfluous data and the graphs are pretty flat, we can go into our Y-axis here. So highlighting our Y-axis and say, I don't want to go from negative 2,500, so I'm going to go from a negative 1,000. Just so I'm zooming into my graph a bit, and my maximum I'm going to make there 1,000. Okay, and so that's my graph now. So that's just chopping off my graph a bit. I'm also going to make my x-axis, instead of being negative 15, because the lowest value I have is negative 10, and the highest value I have is 10. So I may as well not show any more information than that. So there's my graph shown there nicely. You can zoom in further if you want, but that's drawing the graph. The other way you could draw the graph is you could put all the data in like you've got there. So you can put all the data in first and then highlight all the data and go insert scatter plot, choose the correct scatter plot, and automatically it says, okay, that's how it's drawn. And so it automatically recognises everything's in columns. The first column is your x value. Then it's got over here the x cubed, 2x cubed, and half x cubed, and so forth. So if you've got, like in the first question where you've got a heap of graphs that you need to draw, put all the data in and then draw the graph. But then if you want to add more data, you can follow the process I did when I drew the graph first time. So if I suddenly go, oh, I now want to just check, so I want to go y equals 10x cubed. So I just want to check to make sure that making a number bigger than 10 makes my graph narrower. So I'm going to go equals 10 times x cubed. And I highlight my values down there. I can then go into my chart and follow the same process as before. Select data, add new series, go to sheet 1, go to select the name, then select my x values, and then select my y values, and go OK. And there we go, that purple one there gives me my 10x, and that's getting even narrower again, yeah? And so it's proving. And you might say, okay, I want to check 1 over 10. What happens in 1 over 10? And so you expect a graph to be even flatter. Because one of the reasons why is it going flatter? What happens if y equals 0? What sort of graph are we going to get? A line across here along the x-axis, aren't we? And as those fractions get smaller and smaller, they're getting closer to timesing by 0, aren't they? That's why we're getting this thing that's getting flatter and flatter, because it's almost like timesing by 0. So 1,000 x cubed, 1 over 1,000 times x cubed, that's like 0.001 times by x cubed, yeah? So if you did 1 millionth, 1 over a million times x cubed, that's very, very, very close to 0, because it's 0.0000001, yeah? And so we expect that to almost be flat along this line. So they're the two things we're looking for. In this first question, we're trying to talk about what does the A value do to our graph? And it does exactly the same to what it did in the quadratic. It made it narrower if it was greater than 1. It made it wider if it was between 0 and 1. And the other one we have to do is what happens when it becomes a negative. So again, in our sheet, we could easily put in here y equals negative x cubed, and you can draw that graph. Okay, and I'm not going to draw it now, but you could draw that graph in there. All right, does that make sense? Yes? All right.